This episode of the podcast is brought to you by our friends at Regrow.
Hey, cannabis operators, got a couple questions for you. Are your SOPs tied directly to your cultivation plans? Can you easily manage your inventory and workforce and vendors from a single system? Can you manage compliance across multiple licenses and states? Do you have performance analytics to help you maximize your 24-month cultivation and manufacturing plans? If this is not the case, Regrow is there to help. They can help you maximize your yields and consistency. Think of Regrow as the single pane of glass view into your entire supply chain. They're available globally with native localization and foreign language support. So if you're a cannabis company searching for a strategic business partner to help you automate your business, scale effectively, and make the supply chain work for you, you can find Regrow at regrow.io. That's regrow.io. Regrow, the premier cloud-based cannabis supply chain management system. Kris Walker, what's going on, man?
Kevin, there's so much going on, but I'm so happy to be here with you, man.
I guess that's a really loaded question, right? Especially in the year 2022, and particularly within the U.S. cannabis industry, which I can't even keep up, man. There's so much going on. And what I'm really interested in talking to you about today, being the co-founder and president of Hoodie Analytics, is, the current market trend data that we're seeing within U.S. cannabis currently. And then, of course, talking about Hoodie specifically. But before we do that, I know, Kris, that you were previously or prior to Hoodie, you were a senior VP and global client leader for Nielsen. Of course, if those that aren't familiar with Nielsen, it's a global leader in audience insights, data analytics that shape media. So my question to you, Kris, before entering the cannabis space in this particular sector within data analytics, what did you see in terms of the lack of mature market data and analytics in cannabis? And was that kind of that light bulb moment to say, okay, hey, we need to build something like Hoodie to address these issues?
Yeah, Kevin, you're spot on, man. I guess just the one gap to close from post my time in Nielsen. I left to start my own firm, right, with the goal of really helping emerging channels and brands build out their CPG toolkits and consumer packaged goods toolkits. So, because Nielsen World, we work with Coca-Cola and Procter & Gamble and Nestle and all these great brands to help them effectively make more money using data, right? And so we felt there was an opportunity to really take that, take those ideals and the information and the processes that we had perfected in that world, but now apply it to new channels. And as you can appreciate, I'm based in Chicago, and Chicago seems to be home of a lot of cannabis companies, and so we had a lot of people raising their hands to say, "Hey, I'm here and I need you." And so, so we found ourselves working really almost exclusively in cannabis for the past really 3.5, 4 years, because the opportunity, when you have all this talent coming into the industry, and they know that data is important, and they know they want to be moving towards database decisions, but they just don't have the assets or the toolkits. And so that was fun, just like working with these brands to help them figure out and almost build from the ground up, tools and platforms that are going to help them make better decisions. And really Hoodie became kind of an outcrop, is that the right word? A growth opportunity from that, because while we were doing great stuff within the four walls of our clients, there wasn't the granular and total coverage data to help those brands understand what's happening outside their four walls. And that was really the light bulb moment for us.
Yeah, and I mean, from my initial research, I see that the Hoodie executive team has a really deep bench when it comes to individuals who have come from companies like Nielsen. I mean, I saw IRI in there, and PD and Numerator. So what year was that light bulb moment, and what were some of the initial pain points and challenges that you saw cannabis operators face, as they were working to build their business?
I mean, it's I guess 2018 is probably when I really started working very closely with some MSO partners. And so about 4 years ago, just to I guess put a time stamp on it. I will tell you that just the first thing that we realized just in kind of getting under the hood and of candidly really almost every cannabis company we talked to at that stage is they all have lots of data, right? And because you have to, it's a regulated industry, so everyone has lots of data, and candidly it's great data because a lot of it's first party data. But because it is such a regulated industry and you have different state regulatory systems that have to be used, you basically have all this data sitting in silos. And so they may have like a really smart gal in Pennsylvania who built some reports off of the data in Pennsylvania, and then they have someone else who did something similar in Illinois, and then someone else doing it for California. But at the end of the day, like, the leadership needs to be making corporate-based decisions and understanding how to mobilize the organization holistically, and the data didn't talk. And so that was like the first light bulb moment to say, hey, there's awesome data in this industry, but it is very difficult to wrangle and to really make usable for our clients.
So fragmented is what it sounds like. You're saying because these larger MSOs were operating in multiple states.
Correct.
They weren't like you said, that executive visibility. There was no, I guess, curated data for them to look at holistically.
Yeah, completely. And this is my naivety. Like the first meeting I really had with, I was sitting in a room. I won't name the name, but I was sitting in a room with a couple of the C-suite executives, CEO and COO of folks that are still in the industry today. And my naivety was talking about we're gonna drive marketing mix for you, and we're gonna help you figure out how to optimize your price points, and we're gonna figure out how to really ensure your targeting strategy is hitting the right consumer segments for your brands. And and I remember the CEO at the time was sitting across from me. He's like, Kris, that sounds awesome, but like right now, I just need to know how much money I'm making and what states, and like I just literally need like a piece of paper, a report that just says, hey, this is what my business looks like, and I like 5 steps ahead. And he was like, no, that's great, we'll get there, but we've got to start. Just help me get this stuff organized. And listen, man, I've had the same conversation in the past 30 days with 3 or 4 other very large, successful MSOs, and there's still a huge amount of opportunity there. These guys are busy, man. They're growing product, they're building brands, they've got they're hiring talent and leaders and salespeople, and I will say the data and analytics side doesn't always get its fair share of mind, and we're hoping to change some of that.
Yeah, if you look at the industry as a whole, it's a burgeoning industry, right? So you could see it as like a startup. In a way where completely. To your point, right? Like these executives have so many different hats that they're wearing and so many different issues that they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, that a lot of the traditional services and analytics and kind of things that you do from a traditional industry sometimes hasn't carried through, just because of the urgency and the needing to get things done with little to no help from the local and federal government, none, right? So I totally get that. This I actually, every time I do a podcast, I'll do a teaser, just letting people know who the guest is and what we'll be talking about. And this question that we got from Twitter is actually relevant in this particular part of the conversation because you mentioned MSOs. Mm-hmm. So Harry DeMott asks, how does the Hoodie product offering differentiate between large MSO clients with sophisticated data operations and small brands and or retailers who are less well-versed in data and its applications?
That was Harry, you said?
Yes.
All right. Harry, it's a great question. I want to make sure I'm talking to the right guy. And the short answer is, Harry, I'm trying to think off the top of my head of a good analogy here, but we effectively have an encyclopedia of data. Here, let's see. I'll see if my analogy holds up, if I can follow this all the way through. And listen, there are companies, right, who want the entire encyclopedia, right? So they basically want to have access to information to help them innovate and figure out what the emerging trends are, and so they can figure out what new products they need to be investing in or what new strains are emerging, and there's other parts of the organization about helping their salespeople be more successful in their selling process. And so they have that entire encyclopedia of data. There are other companies like you just referenced, who may not need the entire encyclopedia, but they just need the chapter on apples, and that's kind of the way that we think about it. Like, there's no reason that you as a brand, where your stage is, or a dispensary and your emerging stage, still should not be able to take advantage of data to make better decisions. And so what we're doing, we've got an amazing customer success team. It's run by one of my partners named Kelly Bernazza Hall. And one of the first things she'll do with working with any size company is understand how they want to consume that data, right? Like, if you're a big operator, you want, sure, we can give you a login, we give you all these dashboards, this enterprise system, and then we can create integrations. So data is coming from our system into yours and merging with your LeafLink and your CRM. But like, if you're a small brand, you got 3 people in the company, like, you don't have time for all that. You don't have IT people, right? And so maybe you just want to get email alerts when something in your world changes that is going to affect you, right? And so that the nice thing about the Hoodie platform is it scales up and scales down. So if you want to consume data, because like on Tuesday I'm in Illinois, like on Tuesday I visit Chicago, on Wednesday I go up to Aurora, on Thursday I'm going down to Southern Illinois, on Friday, you set up those alerts in Hoodie, and so on Tuesday you get here are the top 3 opportunities in Chicago. On Wednesday you get the top 3 opportunities in Aurora. Thursday you get the top 3 things in Southern Illinois. And now I'm consuming the relevant data, the apples, from my encyclopedia analogy, that are going to allow me to make better decisions today and ensure I'm going to the right dispensaries, who have opportunities for my brands, and that when I'm talking to them, I know what's happening in their stores. And so it's that translating it into bite-sized chunks for time constrained leaders. And and we've got a great team that that helps take care of that. So and candidly, we're jumping way ahead, but the commercial side, the pricing scales up and down too, right? So we will pull the page out on apples and sell you just that if you want.
Right. No, that makes sense. I mean, the services need to be customized to fit the particular need of the client based on their size, based on their business objectives. I mean, yeah. So it's great that y'all do that. And I love the analogy that you use with this encyclopedia. It works. It makes a lot of sense. And it's a great segue into my next question. And that is the fun stuff, right? So speaking of this encyclopedia that Hoodie Analytics has,
I need to open it up, Kevin. Hang on.
Open it up. Yeah, let's open it up. And I want to hear about, we're living right now at a time where we have 18 adult use states online. We have 37 medicinal states. So what are y'all seeing in terms of U.S. cannabis market trend data? So let's start maybe with the topic of highest active dispensaries per capita.
So all right, that's highest active. You've got a very specific question for me. So I don't have that off the top of my head, but we can start looking at that.
I have it. Don't worry.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, it's saying here, Oklahoma, Montana, and Alaska have the highest active dispensaries per capita. So let's just dive into that. I mean, what are you guys seeing from that perspective, and what is, fueling that trend?
Well, I mean, obviously the short answer to that trend tends to be the cost of getting into the business. So I think that's where we're finding a lot of in the state like Illinois, it may cost you $1 million to get a license and dispensary, and Oklahoma, it's a few grand. I don't know the hard numbers. Your readers can certainly, or listeners can certainly correct me there. But that, the cost is a big one. Like, so how easy it is to get, what are the regulations around that? And I think in a market like Oklahoma and some of the other early stage players, it was easier for someone without a huge a huge bank account and connections with the right people to open the doors and start participating in the industry. And I think that has made a difference with this, how some of the different markets have shaped up. So that's definitely and I think something that can continue to monitor as new players come into the space. And you'll see like MSOs and some of the bigger brands, they know the process. They've got the checkbooks, they're able to leverage data to figure out where the most lucrative opportunities are going to be. And listen, it's not it's not rocket science to to make the leap to say, hey, if there's less competition in a market and just as many people, I probably have the opportunity to make more money. And and so that's worth, and you generate ROI to figure that out. So so that, anyway, that's the way, that from that side, one of the key things that we're finding.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, and going, to continuing on, and just some of the other market trend data that I've read, that's been produced by Hoodie is, you touched on, you're based in Chicago, and from what I've seen here, Illinois has the most expensive flower per eighth in the Midwest on average.
Yep.
So that's interesting to me. I want to know why that is, but also like how that compares among other states. And it's so different in the hemp industry, right? Because hemp, you have interstate commerce, you're able to sell online. So with so much saturation in the hemp market, it's really caused this price compression. Whereas we're seeing, variability in price when it comes to THC cannabis flower among the states.
Yeah, I think, there's a couple big factors at play there. Obviously one is the taxes, right? So there's taxation implications, and those are very different by state. Illinois, does tax, certain products differently based on its THC levels. And so if you have, as you can appreciate, if you have a higher THC and the tax is higher, the price is going to be higher to the consumer. And we really focus on the consumer side of that. So that's certainly one of the driving factors, that is playing into it. The other thing, I obviously, and kind of back to your question on, or your point on per capita, less competition, does mean that there is more pricing power for brands, and so having and to be honest with you, I'm a brand junkie. Like I believe cannabis needs more brands. I believe that we have so much opportunity to grow and in the brand space. And and I'll steal a line that I heard I was just at Benzinga last week in Miami, and one of the speakers had a great line. I apologize, I don't remember who it was, otherwise I'd source him here. But he was like, hey, you go to a wedding, and for $50 you can get everyone at the wedding high, right? And for $50.
That actually just happened, right? Too. that was a horrible story, but yeah.
And but that same amount in alcohol, like how much of that wedding, how much was spent at that wedding for booze, right? 10 grand, 20 grand, whatever it might be. And that's an extreme example, but I do think it shows opportunity where whereas as an industry, we've got to figure out how to grow brands. We've got to close that gap to alcohol, and pricing power comes with it, right? Like, I remember having some earlier conversations with some of our clients around, they're like, well, $60 is the price of an eighth. It's the way it's always been, and the difference between a 60, was like the value price was $55. I'm talking like the legal side, but value price was $55, $60 for the mainstream, and the premium was $65, right? So you're band was about this narrow, versus like you even look at something silly like candles, man. Like you can buy a candle for $50. Like
Right.
that smells like Disneyland. Get a Disneyland candle. It's $50. It's going to immerse you in Disneyland, right? Or you can go and you can get the nice candles at the little shops in the mall for $15 a pop, or you can go to Walmart and you get the same candle for about $1.99, right? And that difference is brand, right? And so how the question, I think the question, the opportunity we have as an industry is, how do we build brand so we can have some $50 candles that are Disneyland like experiences? And I that you're going to ask me, I know what some of the emerging trends are that we're seeing. I love that trend that's happening right now, because I think that brand building nature is starting, and you're seeing that this whole fear of missing out and the FOMO starting to take hold, and that is going to start creating and helping drive brand. And I'm super excited about seeing that right now.
Yeah, it's a really important point. I mean, and I think you're spot on with it. Branding is so important in any industry, right? For any company, to put that stake in the ground, have your messaging pillars where you're focused on specific messaging with a certain tone for your brand, with a look and feel, and people start to build affinity for that brand, right? They start to follow you. They start to love what you're talking about. And of course they love your product. So there's that brand loyalty that comes with it. And I am seeing that as well in the cannabis industry. And it's super evident in, states like Colorado and California, who have been online for quite some time now. And and those brands have had, time to establish and really find their voice. And I think that is going to be a huge differentiator. In fact, I think I tweeted the other day that, if you don't have an established brand and a clear, distinction of what your messaging is, you're always going to be battling the noise, because there's so much noise online. So
completely.
Yeah.
And I think the interesting thing in building brands, and particularly in the cannabis space right now, is the affinity for different pockets of consumers towards given brands. There's a huge discrepancy is the wrong word. The huge difference, right? And brands that are incredibly appealing to older consumers, right? From whether it's from nostalgia, or it's just how they, what it was their first experience. But those are often very different than the brands that have that huge amount of brand loyalty, amongst, the emerging cannabis consumer, the younger consumer. And that, and you put yourself now in the, in the shoes of being a dispensary, and your goal is not to just typically your goal is not to just grab the one, right? One type of consumer. You want to appeal to everyone around you that hope that that is interested in purchasing the product. And so now, taking that same logic, you've got to make sure you've got the right products range that are hitting both of those loyal affinities. And candidly, brand loyalty can drive price, right? That's brand equity. And the more brand loyalty I have, the more people are willing to pay a premium or drive further to get a brand or recommend me to others. And all that can be translated into pricing power. And so figuring out that right mix of assortment and price and the different consumer segments that are appealing to you is, it's where the industry is going, but we've still got a lot of catching up to do.
Right. Well, again, it's a new industry, right? So
completely,
it's all coming, and it's exciting for sure.
Yeah.
I want to switch gears and focus on Hoodie specifically.
Sure.
I know that y'all recently issued a press release talking about details for your inaugural fundraising round. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I'd love to. I mean, we've been, I guess the history of the companies is we were formed by the merger of the cannabis practices of two legacy organizations. One being an AI machine learning technology platform, and then the second one being a consulting analytics consulting practice. we merged these two companies, and and basically on the premise of really being able to disrupt the cannabis industry and to become that market leading data and the currency and the lifeblood of the industry. And that was the premise. And I think you you talked a little bit about, I guess you asked me how we got into it and what we identified, but the pivotal point for us was, like one of the toughest things that our world has faced, which is, the COVID pandemic. So COVID hit, right? And suddenly the whole, cannabis dispensaries, just like every other retail establishment, had to pivot to online and to ensuring that they had great online experiences for their customers in order to survive. Like it was the entire industry moved like very quickly. And so we recognized that, like, hey, this is a very unique time. And now there's so much rich data that's online that, that basically is almost like a perfect reflection of what the industry is. And so, the light bulb moment came on, and we have this amazing AI machine learning tech platform that was already doing stuff along those lines.
Sorry to pause you. So
Yeah.
that's fascinating. So you're saying due to the pandemic and because these businesses went online, there was basically more of like a plethora of data that y'all had to work with at this point
Completely.
that wasn't there before,
Yeah.
right?
100%. And and so it was this fortuitous moment in time, right? That we were already in depth, in bed with a lot of cannabis MSOs and brands doing a variety of work. And we knew the challenges of understanding what was happening outside their four walls. So we knew there was market gaps. And then, again, Wes Shepard, my co-founder, and he's our CEO, had built this amazing platform that was exceptional in ingesting massive amounts of data very rapidly and then translating it into useful information. And so it was kind of, this light bulb moment, and because he was already doing it for brands like Sony and Hasbro toys, where, they were monitoring global price points and distribution of their products around, thousands and thousands of websites around the world. And so his platform was already doing that. So we're like, hey, we should work together and figure out how we do this for cannabis, right? And it was kind of random because he had picked up a cannabis client as well, and but when the whole industry went online, we're like, boom, we're in. And so we started just going hard at it, and we brought in a couple of of luminary clients, to help us really work through our use cases and our toolkit, and we partnered with them to figure out what was going to be the most value to their business. And so we've been kind of clandestine, effectively for, I don't know, a good 6-7 months. We really officially launched at MJ BizCon in October, and then we did close a round in November. And we were, the reality of it is, we're already in the process of working on the next version of our capital raise, and but we brought in some amazing partners. Some Cannabis Royalty is, are on our board of advisors and are part of the team. And
that's what I was going to ask you. Who are those? Yeah, because you have a new advisory board, right? After the raise, or
we do. It's I mean, the one I'll talk about is Lauren Gertner. But there's we've got some great folks beyond Lauren. But Lauren from Canopy Brands and Tokyo Joe and Tokyo Smoke, sorry, and just he's been a part of so many successful companies. It's just been a great person to have, just kind of show us the ropes. And then in addition to Lauren, Jim Belushi is an active investor and partner. Greg Steinberg, who works with Jim, is officially on our advisory board, and as another just super well-regarded leader in the industry, and it seems to know everybody. And then we did bring in some outside leaders as well. So another there's a couple of gentlemen from the non-cannabis tech space that are also on our board, so just bringing some of that outside perspective to the table. But we've got Entourage Capital and ArcView were a couple of our leads out of the gate, along with Greenlight and Satori, and then a number of other cannabis strategics that we asked to take part. But just having that kind of core group of exceptional leaders in the space it's been such an accelerator for us, because they, not only can they, connect us to to the right people, but they're also able to just give us that guidance as to what's going to move the needle for their companies and their brands.
Yeah. I mean, those are those are heavy hitters that you just named there. And speaking of Belushi, I had Jim on, and such an authentic human being, man. And you can tell that he just really does care about the plant and all of its medicinal benefits, and how it's helping everybody. So that was a great conversation.
Yeah, I was fortunate to see Jim speak at Benzinga in Chicago 3 years ago. I think it was the keynote, maybe 4 years ago now. It was before I was doing a hoodie. I was still in the consulting phase, and it was awesome. Like, I mean, you're absolutely correct. Like, you can just tell how the product has changed his life, and how he has such a passion to changing the lives of folks around him. And like that came, I remember going home and talking to my wife. I'm like, I couldn't believe that. I know who Jim Belushi was, but like to see that and just so authentic and real, and talking about, what it means to him and the people he's working with. It was amazing to see. And then obviously fast forward, we got connected via, a partner, to meet with Jim, and he invited us to breakfast, and started telling him what we're doing, and it's been a great relationship. And right now, Jim's actually tweeted out a couple of things for us, so I think we're helping him out a bit. So
nice. That's crazy, man, that it's come full circle for you like that. You're seeing him speak, and then you're having lunch talking business deals with him. That's awesome.
Yeah, after you get over like the the shock of, hey, I'm talking to Jim Belushi right now. He's been great. He's gotten to know our team very well. So he's been a great partner.
That's great. That's great to hear. Yeah. One thing that I should mention to you is I love the hoodie that y'all sent, by the way. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I have an awesome Hoodie Analytics hoodie. And I would be wearing it now, but it's getting warmer in Texas. So, but I was wearing it when it was cooler. So I did want to mention that to you. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, man, if you want, we'll give you a couple more. You give them away as giveaways to, some of your listeners. I'm sure we're happy to send you some stuff through.
Let's do it. I think that's a really good idea. We'll do some hoodie giveaways.
Love it.
Hey, last question for you here, Kris. And that is, what's the future hold for Hoodie Analytics? I mean, you guys are off to a really good start. I mean, launching, you said at MJ BizCon, was it in October?
Yep.
You have a deep bench of, experts within your advisory board. So where do you guys want to be in the next, year or two?
It's a great question, and we've got lots of ambition, right? I would say, just to echo your friend Harry that commented in for the question. We want brands big and small to be using Hoodie, as the currency, to help them make data-driven decisions and become data-driven companies. And like that's our goal, right? And and we've got some tactics around that and some strategies. Like we're so excited to be working with some amazing other Canatech players out there, and to start creating this currency. And so that like it's a it's a more emotional goal, but we really want to be that life currency for the industry. Being on it from a practical side, our data right now, you can check out askhoodie.com, and consumers can use our data to find the products that they want and that they're looking for. We've got, great, I'd say we've got the best market reach out there of products and dispensaries. And so there's a lot of exciting things coming around there where we're going to give customers the ability to create their own profiles and their personas. And if you want to be like Jim, and you want to try stuff Jim likes, well, we're gonna kind of give you the opportunity to do that. And so there's some really fun things that are going to be coming down the pipeline to put our data not only in the hands of brands, but in the hands of customers and consumers. And so that's another big area that we're excited about. And obviously, for being the data nerds that we are, we're so excited with all the data that's going to come out of all of that. We'd love to know what's the, what consumers are searching for, and they're looking for, and in any different geolocation around the world, and what the emerging trends are from consumer behavior, and how that drives loyalty, and stitching all the consumer insights together, and so all that's going to kind of come together to really, hopefully, have us be a real 360-degree data presence for the industry.
Speaking of 360-degree, I mean, do you see yourselves being in the medical space at all, in terms of like how these products are interacting with certain people's genetic makeup and the efficacy of the products?
It's a good question. I will tell you, it's not on our short-term roadmap. But I've done a decent amount in the medical industry previously, and I think there's an opportunity there. I would say, if there's a company out there that wants to start collaborating with us on it, happy to have that conversation. Because I think there's huge opportunities there, and again, it ties right back into our conversation around brands, right? Figuring out what the efficacy of different terpenes and everything is going to be, and how that can tie into brands and drive consumer loyalty. It's all playing to that same story. So anyway, if anyone out there wants to collaborate, reach out, please. So.
There you go. The invite's open.
Yep.
Well, Kris, I want to leave the floor with you, man. Anything else that's top of mind before we wrap up?
Listen, man, I just love to say thank you for having me. At this, we've been so thrilled to be a part of this industry, and the energy and the love and the support that has been thrown our way. We can't say thank you enough to to everyone in the industry at large. And listen, we hope to return much more of that in the future back to you. I'd say if you're looking for information more about us, check out hoodieanalytics.com. It is spelled hoodie with an IE, so hoodieanalytics.com. If you're a brand or a dispensary, we'd be happy to help you out. And obviously, check out askhoodie.com, to understand what products might be around you that are going to meet your needs. And hopefully we'll see you in the digital world.
There you go. You heard it from Kris Walker himself, co-founder and president of Hoodie Analytics. Sir, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time today. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks, Kevin. I loved it, man. We'll do it again.
Yes, let's do it again real soon. Thank you all for listening. Bye.